Board meeting of December 19th, 2023 at 7 o'clock. Sharon, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Reviewing the housekeeping items that we do. Board, when speaking, please move close to your microphone to ensure you are heard clearly for the YouTube streaming. And I request that citizens who speak to adjust height of the microphone there and stand close to it. There will be 2 opportunities for citizen comments. I will be requesting individuals stay within the 4 minutes in both citizen comment sections. I would appreciate everyone keeping their points concise. I would request that comments are made respectfully to the board. We are here to discuss the township's business. Citizen comments should pertain to specific issues, concerns, or policies they would like to bring to the board's attention. To respect everyone's time, I strongly urge the board not to respond to public comment, but address them in the board comment section. Sometimes this is difficult, but this is not a debating stage between the citizens and board members. We have township business to conduct, and it is required that we do so effectively. If there needs to be a follow-up from the board, I will direct the appropriate person to reach out to that individual. The documents on the website are aligned to the items on the agenda. These are draft documents to provide background information only. Just to be clear, motions were drafted to help the board more quickly get to the final wording and vote on the respective motions. The final motion may look different to reflect the actual action taken by the board. With that, board, we have 1 set of minutes for the regular board meeting of November 21st, 2023. Any comments or changes?
I have none.
Kathy?
No, sir.
I do not.
No.
Jason, Allen?
I do not have any changes. No, I don't.
Okay. I will make the motion to approve the November 21st, 2023 regular board meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jason. It is moved and seconded to approve the regular board meeting of November 21st, 2023. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Minutes are approved. Kathy, correspondence and
I
announcements.
had no correspondence to report, nor announcements.
No FOIAs or anything?
That's later,
All
I have
right.
just
but
one,
no FOIAs.
one announcement that Sheriff Kevin Hauk sent me a text and he's unable to make tonight's meeting.
All right. Next is the approval of the agenda. Any questions or changes to the agenda?
I have none.
Hearing none, I make the motion that the agenda be accepted as presented. Is there a second?
I can do that.
Thank you, Kathy. It is moved and seconded that the agenda is accepted as presented. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is citizen comment. Kathy, do we have cards?
We do have some cards. I'm not sure they're still in the same order, but Meg Ackerman, please.
Bring this down. Meg Ackerman, 1568 US 31 North, about a mile up the road here. And I'm also a board member of the TART Trails. So I'm here in support of the Nequema Trail that we are working on. And I just really want to say that I want to encourage the board to support this, to support the alignment as drawn, the schematic. For me, it's important as a resident. That's why I got on the board, was because of this proposed trail. I like the idea of being able to, we do a lot of biking and walking and hiking. I like the idea that we can have a healthier community we can get more kids out biking and walking, we can get more people out, elderly people out biking and walking and safely. And I think that that's so important. So I really, really encourage you to fully support this and embrace it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Denise Walker.
Can I ask Bob?
Yeah.
Denise, Meg, I'm sorry. Will I be able to ask her questions when we get to that part?
Well, probably the best person to ask is Elizabeth. She'll be making the
Okay,
presentation.
thank you.
Yep.
Denise Walker, 5951 North M88 Central Lake. I'm here tonight to address our Torch Lake Township Commissioners on behalf of the Torch to Bay Trail Group. Tonight you'll hear a short presentation from the consulting team of experts regarding our desired alignment of this trail. As you hear the progress made thus far, I would like you to be thinking in terms of the value of this trail and what it would bring to our township. There's evidence that our citizens are in support of the trail by our surveys, attendance at open meetings. And as elected officials, you're charged with supporting the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. I believe this trail, when completed, will help our township in pursuit of those three goals. So far, our work has been generously supported by grants and donations from township residents. As you plan for the future, and I am talking about the future tonight, I ask the board to think about how this valuable resource can be financially supported by our township. Of course, in a proportionable and affordable way. I think this trail will have a significant impact on our health, safety, and well-being of our citizens. And so I ask you to consider, as you plan, of the value and invest in it accordingly.
Thank you, Denise.
Mr. Rubing?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. The Antrim County Commissioners have a meeting for Thursday, and we have a resolution on the agenda. It has been a topic of discussion among the commissioners, but now that we have a resolution, it has to do with creating a unified trial court in Antrim County. And so I would like to read you the resolution because the townships that I represent as county commissioner have been interested in this. So it's short. Whereas Antrim County presently has one full-time judge, the judge of probate, who also presides over the family division of the 13th Circuit Court. And whereas Antrim County receives the remainder of judicial services as an adjunct of the 13th Judicial Circuit and of the 86th Judicial District. And whereas the present arrangement does not promote the efficient administration of justice or deliver services to the people of Antrim County effectively or economically, now therefore be it resolved by this Board of Commissioners to request through concurrent legislation that the Michigan Legislature, the Governor, and the Michigan Supreme Court to do the following. Number one, combine the functions of the probate and the district courts as of January 1, 2025. And two, create a new circuit court judge position to take office on January 1, 2027. And three, adopt a concurrent jurisdiction plan for the Antrim County Circuit, Probate, and District Courts at the appropriate dates. The background listed here. Across many conversations, we have assessed new opportunities to improve our services to the public of Antrim County and to create greater efficiencies in the process. While the courts are, by design, at arm's length from much of the rest of county government, this opportunity shows to be a significant opportunity to put together a court with Antrim County's priorities in mind, all while looking at a significant reduction in cost to the county. The primary goal will be to serve the public and our citizens as best as possible, and this opportunity also looks to save us a significant amount of money. The cost savings that I've seen so far are anywhere between $200,000 and $250,000 savings per year. So, as always, I take comments. My email is open. Most of you have my phone number, but we have involved our sheriff, we have involved our prosecutor, and as you well know, we are currently in a partnership with Grand Traverse County with our court system. And as someone who regularly goes over the bills for Antrim County, they have frequently been 4 to 6 months behind in billing us. And it has not gone over well with the rest of our employees that 2 years ago, they gave all their employees a 10% raise. And we were only able to give our employees a 3% raise. And since they have like over 75% of the court business in Grand Traverse County, we have no say. And so that's just a little bit of the background. If there's any questions, that's kind of a big thing on our meeting coming up.
How will you add an additional judge to the circuit and it costs you less?
We will no longer be in partnership with Grand Traverse and Leelanau County.
So
So
you
we,
have your own, you're an independent circuit at that point.
exactly.
What about facilities?
We already have a courthouse in Blair.
You have
and-
enough courts
Mhm,
for that addition?
mhm. Right now, it just gets used 1 day a week. The judge comes to Antrim County.
Mhm.
Most weeks it's 1 day. Once in a while it's 2 days, but the majority of the time he comes, conducts court in Antrim County in our courthouse 1 day a week, and the other 4 days a week it sits empty.
Okay, thank you,
And
Jen.
that's Zoom
Jairus?
meetings too.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of Zoom trials whenever possible.
I don't have a question, but I wonder if there's a way you could email me the resolution, or after you vote on it, you said Thursday night,
Mhm.
if you could send it to me then for purposes of my minutes.
Yes,
Thank you.
if you're interested, the agenda packets are posted on the county website, and the resolution is page 13 of 60.
60?
It's page 13 of, our whole packet is 60 pages
Oh,
long,
boy.
but it's numbered. Hey, this is a short one. Last month was 158.
Okay.
And you thought I had a big package.
That's all I have. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Oh, dear. Jenny Hebert?
Hello, I'm Jenny Bear, 597, that's
I'll
okay.
say.
En français. 5917 North M88 on Torch Lake. Our family's been residents here since the 1870s, and I think that the specialness of this area is in the natural resources, and I know that your duty is to help develop the master plan, a recreation plan. To me, that includes how do we get the most access to the most people? And I believe it's by the Tart Trail, by having Nakwema Trail that anyone can get to. I don't see us as having plans to have a big downtown like Elk Rapids or Charlevoix. Our uniqueness is in the beauty of the outdoors that we have here. So how can we provide that to the most people? And I just encourage you to go ahead with supporting the proposals as they come up for the Nakwema Trail. And I am grateful too for all the different individual supports from foundations and individuals who've given so far to this project. But I encourage you to support this going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all that I had turned in. Is there anyone else?
All right.
Okay.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Anyone wish to pull any of the reports? If not, I have two. I'd like to pull the zoning report to give an update on one of the items, and the fire report to give Kevin his 3 minutes to tell us some of the activities.
It's 2 minutes of fame.
So otherwise, all the other reports are accepted by consent. On the first page of the zoning report, under the Volkers, the hearing took place. We got a judgment for $3,000 plus restrictions on the use of their camper. They supposedly were going to appeal that. They didn't file the papers. Our attorney has filed for dismissal of any opportunity, I believe, on their part to file any further documents. And we're waiting to get the final judgment. We'll collect $3,000 from that. So that's an update on that item. That just came out yesterday. And Kevin, I will give you 3 minutes to fill us in on your activities.
Yeah, I just wanted to let the board know that the refurbished rescue unit is now in service for the township. And we have had 3 response calls that has been utilized at. One was in Milton Township for a motor vehicle accident. And we had 2 motor vehicle accidents here on US 31. One of them was a family of 4 with their pet. The road conditions that night were very hazardous. They had rolled their pickup truck, and upon arrival, we discovered that there was a 6-week-old infant that was outside in the cold, wrapped up in a blanket, and we was able to get that onto the rescue unit, get the family warm, transport them to Station 2, where family members picked them up earlier that evening. And then we had another rollover accident on US 31 where we had 1 individual with no injuries, but we were able to transport her. She was visiting here in northern Michigan. She just landed at the airport. We transferred her to Station 1, where family members came from up north to pick her up. So we are utilizing it, and it is now registered with Central Dispatch as 88R1.
Kevin, were the roads bad?
Yes,
Oh, okay,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Thank
First
you,
snow of
Kevin.
the season.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, I'll make the motion to accept the zoning report and fire report as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any opposition to the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll move forward. Special reports. Jason.
Oh, yeah, Planning Commission. Last Tuesday, we approved the Memorial weekend shenanigans at the airport. And we also finished Article 14, which is our last article for the zoning ordinance review, which was definitions. So now we're just waiting for everything to be put together and presented to us.
Excuse me, Article 14?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Approved. How do you spell shenanigans?
SH.
Come on,
That's about as far
Kathy.
as I'll get. SHANIGAN.
Shenan. That's it, yeah. I'll Google.
Trying to think of that bar name, Shenanigans.
I know. They misspelled
Put
it
that in
on
the
purpose. All right. Kathy?
No new FOIAs.
Excellent.
Do-da, do-da.
All right, financial review. As I've indicated in the past, and I have yet to get a phone call, to be honest. Any questions regarding the financials can be directed either to myself or the clerk's office. There's no real change in our financial performance. Our current month change in cash is strictly related to the operating costs for the month of November. We're favorable to budget by roughly $293,000, and that's across all the funds. So it's a good report, good status. We've got 3 more months and our collection of taxes has started. The next item is for, and I can't pronounce your trail, but I'll go with TART to start with. It seems to be the normal word. And if you could, please keep it to 10 minutes. Good.
All right,
I got mine on.
okay. I'm Elizabeth Calcott, Trail Development Director with Tart Trails and the project manager with the Nequema Trailway. And we are here tonight with C2AE, our engineering and design firm. We've got Eric Kronk and Tony Johnson, and then Brent Bolin, Executive Director with Top of Michigan Trails Council. I also want to acknowledge the members of our Torch to Bay Trail team that are here tonight, and they've been our group of resident trail champions and making sure this planning process is supported by the goals and values of this community, and they've been instrumental to date. Nequema Trailway, this is what the Torch Lake planning is being part of, and that's a generational investment in our region. It represents non-motorized infrastructure, transportation, and recreation, joining Charlevoix and Traverse City and all of the communities in between. So last time we were here was in October when we shared a project update and also shared our interest in extending schematic design south to the community services building. Since then, we have had a chance to review that additional information and are here tonight to share a proposed preferred alignment for schematic design. And I'll let Eric go over what that entails, and then Brent will share where we go from here.
Right.
Good evening.
Hi.
We do have some handouts if you guys want to see some of the plans or the schematic plans that we have developed.
Eric,
We're on YouTube, so you have to get up
Get
closer.
real close to
You
it.
can raise it if you want. down
Yeah,
at the
you can take
bottom.
it off of there altogether.
I think this is okay. So we're in what's, our schematic design phase, so that means it's preliminary. Since the last meeting, Elizabeth mentioned, we added a little bit more section to the trail so that it extends further south from Traverse Bay Road and to Township Hall here. So what we're looking at is approximately a 4-mile trail on the west side of US 31. So we, presented two options essentially in some of the public meetings, and also, evaluated and analyzed the different route options. The two options were basically the west side or the east side of US 31. We've determined the preferred route is the west side. That's through our own engineering analysis and also what we gleaned from the public input, that, from both those aspects, the west side was the preferred route. So, that's the first big step in any of this trail planning, is to kind of, analyze the route alternatives and decide where you want to, put the trail. So we feel like we've vetted that decision and gone through the process to be able to say, the west side's the preferred route. Like I said, generally starts here for the south terminus and then goes all the way up to Old Dixie Highway. There's a couple spurs and crossings that are proposed. One crossing of US 31 would be near the day park, because we thought that was a logical place for people to access the lake. There's already existing parking there. People could be coming from the park and get on the trail, and vice versa. And then the other crossing we're looking at is up near M88, and we've been in some preliminary discussions with MDOT on how this could work with the crossings and determining what the safest options will be for crossing US 31. There's also another point of connection to Barnes Park. On the north end, there's an existing paved trail that actually one of the spurs would connect to, so that there's connectivity to Barnes Park. Going forward, we're going to continue on our design process, moving into the next stage of design, which is what we call the design development, where we'll, start looking at some of the more details of the actual design on the west side, obtaining a topographic survey and, starting to do more detailed design moving forward. So,
Quick question. The first area was which one?
Say
The
that again,
nature
please.
preserve?
the first what?
The cross.
Near the day park, it would be near Traverse Bay Road, probably just south.
Well, that's not the day park.
Right, but we'd be on the west side with the trail and then crossing east to the day park. That's,
All right. Because the nature preserve doesn't have that much parking.
yeah,
it's
and that was
really
one
for-
of the alternatives or options we looked at in the, public input and kind of analysis of the different options. And that's kind of what we heard from the public, is that
Yeah.
that wasn't a favorable place.
I'm just going to chime in here that it's it's not necessarily just about using those as trailheads. That's why we were interested in extending south, was also to address concerns about capacity at those parks, but also just a logical place. Traffic's generally slowing down a bit. You've got more of a, like the hamlet there, Porch Village. So just anticipating that it would be a logical crossing point if people were trying to access the trail from the east to the west.
That's fine, as long as you don't advertise the nature preserve, because we're trying to keep that in its natural state, not overrun with bikes if possible. All right,
On the west side, is that for northbound and southbound traffic, you're thinking?
Yes, as far
Bike
as on the
traffic?
trail, yeah, it would be two-way on the trail.
So is that strip that we have now, the wider strip on the west side, is that enough?
What do you mean the wider strip?
We have a wider strip on US 31 of pavement that, on the west side. Is that what you're going to be using?
No, this will be separated trail for the majority, and there are some special circumstances, I would say, where the right-of-way gets very narrow, where in some of those areas, if we're not able to obtain private property easements, that we might have to be a shared road in that circumstance. But
So this is a separate trail, like we see up north, further north from Charlevoix North kind of thing.
correct.
And you'll be eating up, I shouldn't say it that way, but I think of the farmers in this regard. But you'll be using some portion of the property to the west of the road right away.
Potentially in the areas where there's some spots where the right-of-way narrows down to 33 feet from the center line.
Correct.
In those areas, I would say it's likely we'll need private property easements or what's called a design exception from MDOT to squeeze it in, basically, in the right-of-way. But the goal overall is to stay in the right-of-way.
I see your red line in here in terms of that's you're looking at your this will be where we're going to be, somewhere in here between those two red lines. Am I correct on
The
that?
dashed red line is the approximate US 31 right-of-way.
Correct. What my question then would be is, say, for example, here, I don't know how wide our right-of-way is in front of the building, I don't remember. How far would you be into the property that now fronts US 31? How far would you be in from their property line where US 31 has a right-of-way into their property? What are your numbers?
Well, we need a minimum of 5 foot of separation between the road and the trail.
Okay,
And then the trail's a 14-foot wide corridor.
so you need 21 feet, 19 feet to go through that area.
Yep.
Okay. And when you get to, say, for example, in the villages, we have some homes, older homes that are probably part of the old 31 trail that are right up on the right of way. How, you'll have to go to the road for those, or will they be condemned?
There is no practice of condemning on this. We'll only work with willing landowners.
I don't know if there's a choice.
We would, in those areas where there's because there are some homes that are in the right of way.
Correct.
In those areas, we're likely going to have to get a design exception to minimize that 5 foot separation between the road and the trail.
Because we have had people here talking about having the bicycles right as they step off their porch. That the bicycles would be right there. Let me ask you this also. How do you handle the electric bikes?
Great question. That they are permitted on the trail systems. Each of our organizations have slightly different approaches, but I think that's something Brent could speak to. But they are permitted uses.
I don't know enough about them. I mean, those in the electric bikes are probably for people my age more than anything, but to get up the hills. But are there groups of electric bike peoples, like the electric bike group that goes to Mackinac Bridge from Traverse City or something like that?
To answer your question, again, I'm Brent Boland with Top Michigan Trails. So under state law, there's 3 classes of e-bikes. Class 1 is the pedal assist bikes where you have to pedal to get help. That's what most people use and most people think of as e-bikes. Then there's class 2s, which have a throttle. And then there's class 3s, which are pedal assist, but have a really high end speed. Under state law, class 1 are allowed on this type of trail and class 2 and 3 are not. But it's also not legal to go 75 miles an hour down the highway out here, and people do it all the time. So there are some issues with people using the wrong kinds of e-bikes on these trails, and we're trying to deal with that and educating the public and working with law enforcement on that. I think the main thing is operating it safely. You can pedal a bike too fast for it to be safe, but it's certainly much easier to go too fast for it to be safe on those throttled style bikes. So that is something that is an adjustment that we're seeing. But that's the state law that would cover this. And in response to your earlier question, I mean, I think one thing to think about, of course, is that the right of way for 31 is wider than the pavement, right?
Correct.
So out in front of your building, there's some portion of grass or something that you guys mow, but it's actually part of the right of way. It's not part of your property. And so that's going to be the situation in some of these other places too, except for, as Eric said, in the places where, the buildings are very close to the right of way, or other reasons why the right of way is very narrow because of MDOT when they acquired it to build US 31. So that's just a few spots that we
So
have
you're,
noticed.
let me make it clear. You're saying then that your trail will not be in these it's a 66 foot right away. You're not going to be in that 66 feet? You're going to be outside of that?
So no, it's going to be in the right of way. So what I'm saying is the right of way includes property that's not paved right
Oh,
now.
I understand that, but I'm
Right.
thinking of there's 66 feet out here and we have to put a two-lane highway and your bike trail
Right.
in that spot. Am I right? Am I correct?
Yeah. What did you say?
The right of way is actually 150 feet.
Right. The right of way is really, really big.
Okay,
In
all right.
most places. There are some areas where
It's tighter.
down. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Right. So, it will look like we're far off the road, but we'll be well within the right of way because the roadway is so much smaller than that MDOT right of way that exists.
Okay,
So we're able to do that separated trail fully within the MDOT right of way because there's so much unused right of way. That's the situation with most of the corridor.
where is your gathering spot in Milton Township? That's south of us.
Right. Well, we don't really have one, right?
And you have nothing north of us in Banks Township?
Correct.
So this place here would service a lot of things going north and south on your trail. And that 14 feet that you have, so roughly you can get a bike one way and a bike this way,
Yeah.
and that keeps everybody from bumping into each other.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
It's set up that way so that there's a whole way they figure out what the safe passing distance is. That would all fit in there. But the thing is until we do the planning north and south of us, this trail segment will only be within your township. So the only people that will be using this trail will be people that want to go to places in your township. So you won't be able to park here and bike to Charlevoix because there won't be trail past the
There
end of
will
your
at some
township.
point, though.
Someday, but at that point, I'm just like clarifying the issue of like the pressure won't be, we think, that great because it will be people that were going to come here anyway to the township. They're either already here or they were coming here anyway because it's only going to be 3.5 miles or whatever, so it's not like nobody's going to drive 2 hours to park here and go 3 miles and back. So it'll be different when it's a longer trail, but then there will be points south and north that are also trailheads. So this is not going to be the only trailhead in the ultimate version of the trail.
Okay, again, we're basically serving this center section between Milton, Torch Lake, and Banks Township.
Yes, although I anticipate that the section to the south and the section to the north of you will likely have their own trailheads too. So there won't be like, you're the only trailhead for the next 10 miles. That's not going to be how that works out. I can't tell you where it's going to be, but every one of these trail segments has to be planned with a beginning and an end. And so you can't just kind of slap it down from this road to that road. So because of that, we're going to have to find these other trailheads and points along the way. So
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 how-
you guys aren't gonna like have a huge burden for a whole big section of trail, I guess.
So how far out are you before you start? I mean, how many years of work do you have in front of you before this thing becomes a reality?
Well, if you guys take action and support, we can move. I mean, it all depends on how we go with the speed of the communities we're working in, right? So, we've seen citizens are supportive. Trail team's been very active. If you guys are supportive tonight, then we can really get going next year.
Next year.
Next
Next spring.
year's in 3 weeks, right? So,
That's true.
But you're talking, I'm talking engineering and getting all these permits and all
right,
that stuff.
right.
I mean,
So we have money in place for these guys to do the next phase of engineering. So that's ready to go. When you guys are ready to move forward, we're ready to move forward on that next piece. Now, the piece with, here's the project manager. She's
I know, she
getting
can't wait
nervous.
to
I
jump
have-
into this one.
But some of this stuff is right, is like permit processes take time. The grant processes we do with either MDOT or DNR, those take time too. So there's a lot of things we can't control,
I have
Okay.
a question before you leave, though.
sure.
I want to tip off on Alan's there, or the 3 phases of bikes or that you're calling.
Mhm.
So what is that phase, or that 3? Is
So-
that battery or electricity?
So they all are battery operated in some form or fashion, all 3 classes of them. So it really is just on basically how fast they can go and how much power they have. So if you see somebody sitting, not pedaling, going really fast, they're probably on one of those class 2s with a throttle. And those are basically, when I was a kid, we called them mopeds. That's basically what those are now. But they're trying to kind of call them e-bikes because, I don't know, it's a marketing thing, I guess, for the company.
So how do they get charged is what I'm kind of leading up to.
Oh, they have charging kits, you gotta plug them in.
Okay, so there's not like the automobile charging stations that have to be put up for the bikes or anything then?
No, you wouldn't have to do that. No, you wouldn't have to deal with that. So, no, it's like people have their own, they charge at their home. It's like charging your cell phone. You just gotta plug it in when you're done using it. So, I'm by no means an expert on e-bikes though, so.
All right.
Too far out over my skis.
So if again, during the operating hours of our
I've
township,
got it.
Yeah,
our facilities are open to the public, so they would be open to the public, to any of your bike people as well. You're looking for bathrooms.
yeah, I mean, well, I wouldn't say we're looking for bathrooms. How would you answer that question?
If after hours needs can be met with porta john.
Yeah.
Or not, there are toilets that
We have porta johns at lots of trailheads and they're very efficient. So, it would, they're very, it's cost like $100 a week to rent them. They come out and clean them. It's super.
And you would be providing that?
I don't know.
Those are details that in the next phase of design, figuring out more of a maintenance piece for the trail. So those are things that we would,
Yeah.
that discussion taking place in the next phase on what you would want that to look like and what that partnership would look like.
Well, what rolls in my head is what Denise said about health, safety, and welfare, and that's a broad term that is applied to all of our planning. There's no question that biking is wonderful for people. And all of us have seen that increase in numbers in the last 20 years. It's amazing. The thing I look at here with regard to our parking lot and the safety issues here is we have had meetings at this building where we had no parking left outside.
Sure.
Parked on the road. And we have had emergency situations with regard to weather, which actually yesterday almost got there to a bad situation. The fire department was very busy. The welfare of our community is critical. I mean, I like all that, no problem. And it's a real attraction. I don't know if it's a real attraction to live in our township because you have the bike trail. You could park your car here and take the bike trail. But I'm not clear on the safety issue because it's a 24/7 thing you're talking about, especially with the electric bikes, and which have lights and reflectors and all those kinds of things. So I don't know if you've got all the answers that I need to have.
Yeah, so let me say this, there's not going to be any lights on the trail. So there is, I guess if you really wanted to ride on the trail in the pitch black darkness, you could, but most people are not going to do that.
But it has happened, and I've seen it many times
sure,
right on this
yeah.
road in the middle of the night and usually it's a single person, I never see
Yeah.
doubles.
It's honestly probably somebody coming home from work who works in this
Maybe.
community. So that's usually who you see out late
Mm-hmm.
like that. But yeah, but you know, I mean, it would be up to you how you'd want it to work. If you only want it to be the 8 spaces furthest in the back, those are set aside for the trail. Like there's, yeah, with posted hours, like it's your property. You can control how it works. So, you know, so it's a pretty big parking lot, but there's no expectation that all of it would be available for trail users 24 hours a day at all. So it would be whatever I think makes sense to all of you.
How do you, again, I just think, again, the parking lot on the other side of the building is no. I mean, we have to have that for emergency.
Right. Well, that's it. Yeah. Well, that's easy. There would be, you know, would be strictly off limits and it would be on this side. So
Do they ride in the winter?
some people do, not that many, to be honest with you. And here's the thing is, even though this is going to be a separated trail, it's going to be basically in the plow zone. So when they come through and when it snows and they come through and plow, they're just going to end up with junk. Like nobody's going to want to, I don't think.
That's what I was going to ask you, if they plow through all that section too, or,
Yeah, I mean, there are some communities that do plow their trails because they want people to be able to get out and walk around them in the winter. But I think if you don't want it to be plowed, then it's not plowed and you won't have winter users. You know, it is an issue sometimes with trails along bigger roads. You know, those MDOT snow throwers are, you know, huge and they can throw it pretty far. I know we've dealt with that in Charlevoix County on a couple of our trails that just get covered in the winter.
Can I just add one quick thing as far as the need for parking, and just want to highlight that in the public input that we received, one of the questions, and we overall had over 400 responses to surveys throughout this process, and over 50 people attended that evening here. And one of the questions was how you plan to access the trail, and by bike and by foot far surpassed the car access. So I think that just shows that a lot of people are planning to access from their homes to get to this trail, and that it's not necessarily a drive and ride.
Okay.
A destination, yeah. I have a question, yeah. You've got the pedestrian crossing potentially at Barnes Park Road going across 31. Would that involve a traffic light? Because we've been dying to get a traffic light there. If this would help get a traffic light, that would be awesome.
I would say it's not planned at this
No.
time, and it's to be determined. That would be a much larger undertaking to change that intersection than just what this trail project is.
Well, because otherwise it's very dangerous for cars to go across there, let alone people trying to walk with a bicycle. So, I mean,
Sometimes-
there's no place that I can think that would be safe to try and walk across 31. But if there were a traffic light, that would be helpful. That's all I'm,
Absolutely. A
Thinking.
signalized crossing would definitely be the safest, but I don't know if MDOT.
there's more than signals, there's
That's one of my
Turnabouts
major
and-
concerns because I live on that road.
Mhm.
And that intersection in the summertime there's going to be an
It's
accident.
deadly.
It's just a matter of
It's
time.
deadly.
there's that turn that you can,
Roundabout.
roundabout is, to me, is better than a red light.
And that
Yeah.
was
People
part of
fly
that
through red lights.
Consideration with being on the west side of the road so that you could go to Barnes Park and Old Dixie without having to cross. So the crossing would just be the, future, potential future
Was it-
connections on M88.
It's crossing from the east side though to go across 31 to get back on the west, isn't it? Or am I reading it wrong?
The
Going
blue
from
line's
south
the
to
preferred
north.
route. The green line was the second alternative we were looking at.
Okay.
Is it possible to influence MDOT? We all want
Our
We haven't been successful yet. We have worked on MDOT for a long time.
That's right.
So that time doesn't warrant a light. I didn't even think of that. So.
Did you say access Old Dixie from Barnes Park by bike?
No,
Okay.
There's a spur that goes to Barnes Park. There's an existing paved trail that comes out.
Yeah.
And then the main trail line keeps heading north to Old Dixie.
Along 31.
Yes.
So no matter what, you're still gonna have to deal with that intersection of Barnes Park Road and 31.
You'd have to cross on the west side,
Can I ask more questions? You said you had 400 responses. Out of those 400, do you know how many of those lived in this zone and lived on the west side?
Not on the west side per se, no, but, and we did have a mix of township residents and those outside the township. I would say that when we did look at the results comparatively, they were very similar. So similar responses from those living in to those not living in the township.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious, the
As for
ones
the
that live,
west
that live
side.
in the zone that are gonna be
We did
affected.
send postcards to everyone along the corridor.
Because I can see somebody that lives in the woods would think this was a great idea, but somebody that lives right on that highway wouldn't agree with that.
And just as far as moving forward with this, we will work with all willing landowners and have conversations through the design phase for each property, even if it's right away. We will reach out to them.
So my next question is the houses that are in the right of way, do they have a choice of whether or not, because you said that they'll have to apply for something through MDOT?
And a design exception.
So does that mean that the homeowners doesn't have a choice?
No, it would just mean that potentially the trail has to go into the road so that we aren't.
Okay, so
On their
that
porch.
leads to my next question. Is there any other ones that are that close to the road? Like, I'm trying to think, like driving to Traverse City, I don't see any bike paths right next to the road, and I know like Charlevoix, they're quite a ways off. Do you have any other areas that are gonna be that close to 31?
We do. There's down on the south end between Elk Rapids and Maple Bay, there will be areas where we'll be pursuing design exceptions. We have some others in Traverse City and then the Sleeping Bear Heritage Trail, and there are options to put up bollards along the highway so that there's some indication, and those can have reflective tape on them, so that we do have them, and it is absolutely not the preferred option, but something that we wouldn't want that to prevent the rest of the trail.
Because I'm just thinking, I think it was last fall or something, we had a major head-on collision just north of Old Dixie and that truck caught on fire and blew off into the ditch. And I mean, if that was something that was happening right here, it could potentially kill a biker.
And just as far as the biker that was referenced in the middle of the night, I guess we're just trying to provide safer separation than those already using
Okay.
facilities like that and more.
Bob, did the attorney review this idea?
I haven't sent it to him.
It just seems to me that, you need our approval to get going. And all of a sudden, 3 months from now or next summer when you begin, we're all of a sudden seeing this is not going to work well. And what, can we back out?
That's what kind of agreement they want.
Yeah, that's what it seems to me that, I don't know enough about what you guys need and how it's all going to work. And it may be beautiful, but I don't know that.
So there are hundreds of miles of trail that we would be connecting. So just to speak to the number of townships and counties that we currently work with, and townships that we work with that hold easements for us, and we have maintenance agreements. But at this time, we're really just looking to know that there is support from this community. We have funding in place for the next phase as we just move into design, and we would be happy to meet with a lawyer if that is of
What does this
of
support,
interest,
this word
but-
support mean in on here?
I think right now, what they're looking for us to say, if I understand it correctly, is that we would agree that they could use the west side of our township for this bike path. And if you notice in the wording I have, we would support the west side as a use, but not anything on a financial basis at this point.
But that includes the parking lot here as well, their use of the parking lot.
That's right.
Yeah, it would be very similar to the motion you guys did at the beginning of this process, where said, you all were in support of us, looking into this and doing some initial engineering. That would be very similar, saying like, we like where you're at so far, we support you continuing to develop the concept. So it's not like any kind of a binding commitment or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's the critical thing is, this is step one You get to step 2, the next engineering phase, you need to come back and get our approval again.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, yes, and just ensuring that there continues to be support from this board and that reflects.
That was
also-
my question is, you got enough funding for phase 1? How many phases are there?
Well, the next one would be design development, construction documents, and then construction. We are at a minimum of a few years from construction. Over the coming years, I think the role of the township, there are different roles that could be played, but a big one would be as the applicant for different grant resources, because we will be doing public and private. So that's like a Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund or a Transportation Alternatives Program from MDOT. So that would just be another role that the township would play potentially in the future.
So you've got phase 1 under your belts, so to speak, almost. And then there's phase 2, phase 3, and who knows from there. I'm looking at it as a long forecast as to, and you just explained it, that it could be several years yet.
Just because of the way the funding would work and those cycles.
And you're going to have to recognize the board is up for election next year. So whatever we may agree to could blow up at the next election.
And that's something we face on a daily basis, working with communities in our region.
All right, board.
So,
Sharon, you got
it just slipped my mind here.
one? All right, Jason?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to highlight that this map is not very up to date.
That what?
Well, I mean, it's like 3 or 4 years old. They don't have the green HVAC building in here, and they don't have this house that
So
was
those would
built.
be the aerial imagery.
Yeah.
Might be, and that's just what is available to us.
It's
And
very
also,
hard to read.
as far as the lines, I mean, that is not, as Eric mentioned, the next phase will include topographic survey, which will be much more detailed. So where you see something is not necessarily how it will actually line up, just a general idea of the right of way and the proposed alignment.
I guess my question would be then, phase 1, so how soon are you expecting people parking out here, type of thing?
I would not say before 2027.
Okay.
Just as far as in terms of funding, right now, we'll be pursuing just for other sections of the trail funding from the state and federal government that would not be available to us till 2026. And we're not at a point for that. So just in terms of funding cycles alone. A few
I
years.
do know that township owns property, vacant land, on Barnes Park Road area.
We'd love to talk more about that.
Maybe I'll get my head chopped off by saying that, but it's for public use because it was public funds that bought it too. So I'm just throwing it out there, board.
Well, we got a ways to go.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
for the time.
Thank you.
And board, thank you for your comments and questions. We move on to the next item. Matt? Hopefully you don't generate as much discussion.
Is what we just had.
I don't know. A couple townships have. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. So, my name is Matthew Animick. I am the emergency manager for Antrim County. I also go by emergency service coordinator, emergency service director. But all the titles, I just do the exact same thing. I manage all man-made or natural disasters that happen in Antrim County. So with that, it could be a large-scale fire like you saw at Kitchens Farm, a wildfire, flood, tornadoes, stuff like that. That's where my job really comes into play. There's a lot of other things that stipulate where I come into the fold of everything. And like all emergency services, I have laws I have to go by too and things like that. However, one of the things I have to do as the emergency manager per FEMA and Michigan State Police Homeland Security, who I kind of fall underneath also, is to create a natural hazard mitigation plan. So this is my first time ever doing it. I came in at the very end of it when I took over for Leslie 9 months ago. So it's been very eye-opening. I've dealt with them in past, my previous careers as a firefighter, but I've never seen one that was so large in northern Michigan. As you can see, it's 200 and some pages long if you have looked at it yet. We have worked with Networks Northwest as a third party to help bring all this material together. We had very long out planning phase. We've had public comment and everything like that. So what the natural hazard mitigation plan is, FEMA likes to have these things. There's like 5 steps they would like to do. And just briefly, it's planning, mitigate, and recovery. Just a short little emphasis on it. So what the natural hazard mitigation plan is, a plan that the county has come up together with a bunch of other individuals, groups, and any other people who are invested in the community. They come together and make plans. What are the bigger problems that we are dealing with? One thing I see countywide is wildfire. Your area, it could be shoreline erosion. It could be invasive species out in Torch Lake, or it could be flooding. Some other areas had their own little things. However, this plan is created to say, how are we going to deal with this? What are things we're going to do to try to mitigate it before it does happen? What do we do when it does happen? How are you going to, operation-wise, and then what's the recovery phase after that? So it's a very long document. It has a lot of different data in there, a lot of different information. We have things in there about bushes, invasive bushes in there. So during the planning phase, after Leslie left, she's like, here you go, it's all yours. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. I was getting phone calls about, like I said, bushes, certain fishes, if there are certain fishes that got into the hazard mitigation plan. So as what I'm saying is, it's very encompassing. It has a lot of different stuff in there. There's some stuff that we couldn't put in there because if we put everything in there, it wouldn't be 200 pages, probably be like 1,000 pages long. There's a lot of different hazards out there. So why do we adopt this? Like I said, I have to put this plan together. The county has to adopt it because what happens is if something does happen, if there is a disaster here and we declare a countywide emergency, then that means when I can get the governor to come down here and see if they can declare a state emergency. There's funding behind that. So if there's a disaster funds behind that, they're going to look at each of the townships and see who has signed this resolution. If you don't sign it, you're not going to get any funding. We've already seen that in certain areas of the state. Up in the UP, they had flooding up there. And the state gave some funding to the area. They went for a presidential declaration from President Biden. We hadn't heard back. One of the main problems was not all the townships or municipalities have signed the resolution. The other thing behind it is FEMA grant money and other type of Homeland Security grant money. If you go after it, one of the stipulations is you have a hazard mitigation plan in place. If you don't, you might not be able to receive that FEMA money. This is the only plan that is really put together that the citizens of the county has a chance to look at and build with them. There are several other plans out there that are sensitive materials that the public can't see for obvious reasons, that deal with terrorism and stuff like that. But this is one of those plans that the whole group can come together. How are we going to deal with a disaster that hits our community, and how are we going to mitigate it from ever happening? So that's why I'm here today, to kind of speak on that, answer any questions that I can. Hopefully you've had a chance to review the entire document, because it's long, I know.
I didn't pass it out because
Okay.
based on your email, I thought, hey, come in, tell us what we need to do, what how much it is that we have to do. It sounds like if you just sign it, then you live with the document. And in fact, at this point, we don't have the resources to treat this stuff on our own. So we would be looking at all governmental type agencies to support it.
So one of the things in the back of the page is one of the annexes in there. It talks about who has to take the steps to implement these plans or provide these certain aspects of the plan, how to make the plan work. Some of it is pretty much all on me. Some of other parts, like one section says, involves emergency management, law enforcement, police, law enforcement, fire service, EMS, DNR. And the little thing off the side is, due to the lack of emergency services, how can we bring our entire county together to deal with the lack of firefighters and EMS and law enforcement? So that's something that us as a group had to come up with an idea to figure out a plan to get more emergency services in our county or other resources. And there's a huge list of like that. It goes down, some of it, Department of Health and Human Services has to look at. They're part of that. The county board of commissioners might have a little section in there. Everybody's got a little section that they have to look at. So what happens then is we have to make these plans, do these things, and in 5 years, we have to go through this process again, because every 5 years we have to do this process.
That was my question. We've gone through this before
Yes,
already. I didn't
yes.
know how long it's been,
Yeah.
because we've
so-
already signed up and done that in the past.
Yeah, and the last one was 2015. However, COVID happened, so it got delayed. Everybody got delayed. And every emergency manager within Region 7 is racing to try to get it done. We're not the first, but thank God we're not the last ones. So, but we're right there in the middle, and we're trying to get it going because we're 3 years behind.
So it's every 5 years you
Every
have to
5
do,
years.
because I know we've already done it before, so.
Yeah.
How many other townships do you have signed up already
I
yet?
know officially I have 4 on my paperwork. However, there might be a couple more out there I got to reach out to and talk to and get the official resolution.
And do you need all 15 townships? That would be a goal, right?
It'd be a goal.
Okay.
However, like I said, if they don't do the resolution, if something happens, they might not get the funding, or you might not be able to apply for FEMA money.
Right.
And that's the.
Because
little-
Leslie got us to doing this before,
Right.
the other time frame that we had. We signed up with Leslie
Mhm.
at that time, so.
And it's just one of those things that you take a look at it and say, all right, what are some things that we can accomplish on this plan? And maybe it's something that you go to the community, or maybe there's an action group within your community that those things fall underneath. Like I said, there's a lot of it, it's on me. I have to do, or within the county government with law enforcement and stuff like that, or the fire service.
Well, that's what you signed up for, right?
Yep. And those are the things that, it's a plan, but it deals with those natural elements. It's not like the terrorist attack side. The terrorist attack side is a totally different plan.
That's why you get paid the big bucks on this. one.
Right.
All right, so I don't have it on the agenda for tonight. I wanted to get more information about it. Board, I'll bring it up in the January meeting. And I think Kevin and Michael, I think you two would be the most relevant people to take a look at this and just see if there's.
Is there any changes,
specific thing.
much since the last one we signed?
Too much.
Okay.
There is. So just kind of go back a little bit history. I've been looking at each and every one, and they get bigger and bigger each year.
Okay.
So what happened this year was we went through the FEMA update to get FEMA approved, but it got kicked back by Michigan State Police Homeland Security. Because they were asking questions, okay, what about snow load? How come you didn't make any improvements on the snow load? So I had to give them evidence and documentation that, yes, the county has improved their snow load. Actually, we exceed what the state of Michigan requires. And there was something about the parks, about emergency shelter locations for the parks. So I had to send that in and say, hey, yes, we did do these things that are required within the plans. So there's things like that sometimes they'll get kicked back. But as long as we're making an effort to show that we are doing these things, it goes through pretty well.
Okay.
All right,
So the plan does not get initiated unless the governor declares our area as a disaster?
No, so the plan is always going. It's one of those things of what we do as community to help prevent disasters or try to mitigate them. So the severity of them aren't as extreme. So like out in California, because they have bad wildfire situations, they have fire breaks ever so often, and they go through, they plow a huge strip of land out. And these fire breaks, hopefully to stop the fire from advancing. So that's part of their plans for mitigating wildfires. There's a bunch of different things out there that communities can do. Is like invasive species, certain invasive species that we can't get rid of anymore. But however, there might be something out there that we can mitigate the spread of them. Like ash trees, like stop transporting ash trees across the bridge and stuff like that. Those are the kind of things that we can do to stop these, invasive species from coming to our community.
Disaster.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday's strong winds, was your office at all involved in that?
The strong winds, not
The
at that.
gale
moment.
force?
I was not aware of the gale force winds. I was out in the roadway though from 9:30 till roughly about 5 o'clock at night.
As a fireman?
Oh, no, as emergency manager.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll come out and I'll help the fire departments wherever they can, even if it's not in my position, but because I know they need resources and manpower, so I'll help out. And I come with 20 years of fire service experience. But the gale force winds, usually we get updated by the weather service every morning, and it wasn't part of their morning briefings. And the problem with gale force winds that they could be within one general area and no one is aware of them. So I'm sorry that was brought that to my attention.
Okay,
All right. Very good. Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you, appreciate
All
it.
right. All right, board, we have no old business. So we'll move on to new business. We have seven items. All right, moving to item 1 is the approval of our 2024-2025 board meeting schedule. You have a copy of that schedule. Any questions on the schedule?
Why do you have the November 12th?
What are the reds? Yeah, what are the reds?
That's because the elections and the people will
Oh.
be taking
Okay.
Taking oath of office,
the
same
oath of
day type of
office
scenario.
the next day. So we figured we needed to leave a week in there between our board meeting, our last board meeting as elected officials, and the new board.
Okay.
And the other red is obviously the annual meeting.
What happened on the 12th of November?
We just talked about that.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening then.
That's right. The election is
Gotcha. I know what it is. Thank
for
you.
the 20th,
Yep,
and our
thank
meeting
you.
would be the 19th.
Yep, yep.
All right, so I'll take a motion on this.
I make the motion to approve the board meeting dates for the 2024-2025 as presented.
I'll second that. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the board meeting schedule for the 2024 and January 2025 board meeting schedule. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Kathy, will you do a roll call vote on that?
I will. Sharon?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes,
Bob?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And myself, yes. That motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Moving on to number 2, we did this summer tax collection agreement for Central Lake last month. We now have it for Elk Rapids. Sharon, you want to,
I have a slight different motion.
all right?
I can give it to Kathy afterwards if she wants it. My motion is to approve the Elk Rapids Public Schools contract agreement at $250 per parcel and Northwest Education Services agreement as presented.
Okay.
Here's a revision.
All right, Kathy, if you would reread it.
The motion is to approve the Elk Rapids Public Schools contract agreement at $2.50 per parcel and the Northwest Education Services agreement as presented.
We had it's because we had the 250 in our,
Right.
from Central Lake last time, we should put it in this one too.
Yep, I will second that.
Okey-doke.
It has
Did I
been-
make the motion?
I guess
You
you did.
I
did.
guess I did.
You said the words, the magic words came out. I'll make the motion.
Okay.
All right, it's been moved and seconded.
Who seconded it? Bob?
I did. To approve the Elk Rapids Public Schools contract agreement at $2.50 per parcel and Northwest Educational Services agreement as presented for summer tax collections. Do you want to add that or not? Or just leave it? Because that was the last words.
That just
For
leave it
the
like
summer tax collections
as
agreement.
agreement, yes, period.
Okay, period. Any questions on the motion?
Oh,
It's
as-
been
I
seconded.
think I have it as presented on there, don't I, Kathy?
Northwest Education Services agreement as presented. There's
Yes.
nothing about summer. in
Right.
there.
Okay.
You don't want to say anything about that it's a summer tax
Well, it
agreement
says motion to approve
as per the agreements.
the
That's
agreements
fine.
for summer anyway, so.
All right.
so
Been
not-
moved and seconded. Any questions on the motion?
Can I ask one question then? Is this then become perpetual? I'm looking at the next item on the summer tax collection, and then it's a perpetual thing until the school board says no?
Is that
Yeah,
perpetual?
well, yes, the treasurer will collect unless the treasurer says no, and the county says no, then they have to do it themselves,
Gotcha.
but they're not going to
Okay.
do it themselves,
Yep,
trust me.
Thank you.
We've done this.
Yeah, I
we do it
know,
every
I
year.
know, I know.
And the 250 comes with the fact that the state would pay us 250 if we did not collect from either of the school districts. The state would pay us 250 to collect it anyway during the normal winter collection period of time. So this is how they're,
Sounds like the state made it a fixed price contract. You
Yeah.
can't
well, it used to
increase
be
it.
a lot more than that before it came down in agreements through the years.
All right, no other questions on the motion? Kathy? Would you
Roll
have a
call.
roll call, please?
Yes, I will. Alan?
Yes,
Bob?
Yes?
Jason?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes,
Myself, yes. That motion passes 5-0.
All right, moving on to item number 3. Kevin Woodward has notified me that he will be resigning his position on the Planning Commission effective December 31st, 2023. Marcy DeWilt has expressed an interest in serving the community in some capacity, and I have approached her to see if she would be interested in the Planning Commission. She's reviewed the material and understands the role of the Planning Commissioner and requested that she be considered. A brief bio was at the bottom of the motion in your packet. Is there any discussion on that? I've had 2 separate conversations, and she first was looking for anything to do, and then this came up, and I said, how about this? And she said, well, send me the information. I said, great. Sent it to her, and she volunteered to do it. So
and she has the time.
and she's got the time, recently retired. So if there's no further discussion, I will make the motion to appoint Marcy DeWilt to the Planning Commission effective January 1st, 2024, for a term ending on October 31st, 2025, to fulfill the term of Kevin Woodward, whose resignation is effective December 31st, 2023.
I'll
I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to appoint Marcy DeWitt to the Planning Commission effective January 1, 2024, for a term ending on October 31, 2025, to fulfill the term of Kevin Woodward, whose resignation is effective December 31st, 2023. No other discussion on the motion? Kathy, can you do a roll call vote, please?
I will. Alan?
yes,
Jason?
Yeah, yes.
Bob?
Yes?
Sharon?
Yes,
Myself, yes. So motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, board.
she will have to take the oath of office too, so make
Yes.
sure she comes in and
I will get in touch with her.
thank you.
We've got a little time to get her here. All right, item
Don't
number
want to slip through
4
the cracks.
is I heard from Bert Thompson. He and I worked on the schedule that is attached. We had one change from the one that I presented as a preliminary one last month. Lower Road came off. It was a little over $50,000. We decided to take that off. Bert asked me to get the board to approve this so that he could start the contract phase. So I would like to make a motion to approve the 2024 roadwork schedule as presented.
I'm
Any
sorry.
question?
Yeah, which road got removed?
Lower.
Laura.
Lore.
Lower, thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We'll take Jason on that one. It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2024 road work schedule as presented. Any discussion on the motion?
I have a question for you.
Yep.
Who
And
made the
I
motion?
think I might know the answer. How come I don't see Barnes Park on it, or Barnes Road? Is that a county
That may-
road, not a township road?
I think that's the Barnes Park Drive.
That's supposed to be Barnes Road?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other thing, just to point out the cash flow at the bottom. Sharon and I reviewed the numbers because there was some question about it, so we went through and I built it out through 2028. So as we started the road work with the millage increase 2 years ago, we said we'd put together a 5 to 10 year plan, and that's what we've done. And I think we were on schedule, and Bert's been very cooperative on this. So Kathy, would you have a roll call vote, please?
Who made the motion and second? I didn't,
Mr.
made-
Cook made the
made
motion,
the
seconded by Mr. Merchant.
okay.
And roll call, Bob, you're first.
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
and myself, yes. That motion passes 5-0. We're on a roll here.
Thank you, Board. Next item, Dan Swanson contacted me recently and wanted to express his interest in serving the community in some capacity. He agreed that the ZBA would be a good fit for his background, as he is an ex-attorney, retired attorney. If you'll remember, I told the community and the board, if a person came forward and expressed an interest in the ZBA, that I would request Ms. Service to voluntarily resign from the ZBA. Ms. Service was involved in both cases that were appealed to the circuit court and upheld by that court. I extend the township's appreciation for her service, and I accept her resignation as alternate number 1 of the ZBA effective December 31st, 2023. She's requested that I read her resignation letter. Dear Supervisor Cook, it is my understanding that a citizen has requested an opportunity to serve the Torch Lake Township community as a ZBA alternate. Although I have thoroughly enjoyed working alongside the very talented members of the current ZBA, I'm tendering my resignation effective 12/31/23 to facilitate another community member's involvement. I would request, however, if a future ZBA opening occurs, I would be considered to rejoin. So she enjoyed it. I've included a copy of Dan's bio at the bottom of the page. So I would like to make the motion.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
She was alternate number 1. So
Correct.
does Jeff move up to 1 and
No, we're going to bring this person in as
as alternate 1? Okay.
So.
So Dan will be alternate number 1 then. Okay, thank you.
Right. So I will make the motion to approve the nomination of Dan Swanson as alternate number 1, replacing Rita Service effective January 1, 2024, for a term ending October 30th, 2024. Is there a second?
I can make that seconded.
All right, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the nomination of Dan Swanson as alternate number 1, replacing Rita Service effective January 1, 2024, for a term ending October 30, 2024. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Kathy, roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Jason,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
myself, yes. Another 5-0 approved.
How come you're always last?
Pardon?
You're in the middle.
I still don't hear you.
All right. Next item. We've had a few people hang tough in here.
Again, we got to
Wait,
remember his
what?
oath of office.
I'm sorry?
We got to remember his oath of
Yeah.
office too.
Yeah. The next one is related to the TART.
Nakuima.
Naquima
Not
Trailway. Board, let's have a discussion ahead of time. Again, I put a motion out here so that we'd have something to work from if we so decide to. Any dialogue?
Well, yeah, I would say, one, I would support this, absolutely. What happens, I say, what will this parking lot look like 20 years from now with regard to Tart Trail use? And I don't know if we're ready to make those kinds, that's why I look at the idea of a contract or an opportunity to say, we've got overflow, we have to talk, we need more land, all those kinds of things that I don't see in here, but the whole idea is good. And I like the survey that said, I didn't realize that there was local people that would be driving here or biking here to begin the process of doing some exercise. So it's a support thing for sure. And I like the whole use of the area, but I've seen this place busy. I mean, and at times, and it's a little less in the last few years, but it's been busy. And adding the bikers here is my concern. It also bugs me, I'll tell you this story, because it's the images in my head, and it's been there for a long time. I'm going down 31, I'm northbound, I'm going down a little slope, and I'm not sure where I was. I might have been by Peterson's North, the former restaurant. And here are 4 junior high kids. I used to teach school, and they're probably 6th to 7th grade, and they're biking along, and they're in that area, that easement between the road, and they're talking and chattering and not paying attention, and they're over the line, and they're right in the road, and they're not even knowing what's going on, and everybody's moving right along. And I blew my horn at them, and I don't even know if they heard it. You know what I mean? It's that kind of safety thing that I looked at and said, wow, that's not going to work. And especially with junior high kids, when they will not be paying attention to, especially if they're together. And they were all boys. They were not, girls among them. That's in my head. So be safe. That's all I'm saying. I support the idea.
All right. Any other comments?
I guess I'd like to make a comment then too. Same regards, I guess we have to look at the future. And so anything immediately, when I think of this first original parking head, in my vision was this was going to be the one and only for a long ways. And we couldn't support dozen cars at a time or 24 cars at a time and conduct business at the same time, so that kind of bothered me at first, not knowing what, but the biking is what the future is all about, that's for sure. And to bring it up here, and it's a 4-mile trail. It's not going to be overnight. It's going to take some time, and we're in several phases. They've got some work to do in the village with their right-of-ways. I feel that it's going to be very tight. Let them work on that and see what it comes back to us. Barnes Park, we just don't, connectivity type of thing. There's things, I was trying to make myself notes as we were talking. The 88 kind of bothers me going that direction, but I fully support a roundabout if anything. Red light's not going to do nothing. They blow by red lights. I'd like to see the next phase and see what happens from there.
Kathy?
I would say that the parking here at the Township CSB never bothered me to begin with, because I can't see 12 people all of a sudden all deciding we're all going to go ride our bikes at 1:15 on. The parking didn't upset me. I'm not worried about this being a parking spot. And I will defer to the experts that they will take every precaution that they can to make this as safe as possible for those that want to bike, so that they don't have to ride on the side of the highway. So I would say I'm also in support. See where we go.
Jason?
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna be the one guy, and
It's fine.
at this point, I can't support it. And reasonings is just, what happens if we did have 30 people that wanted a bike and an employee didn't have a room anywhere to park? Just to avoid that whole scenario, I can't support that. Now, I'm not saying I'm against it. Sharon says that there's Torch Lake Township property. I'm Barnes Park Road or somewhere. I just can't support using this parking lot, just for the simple fact of just avoiding anything that could happen. What happens if a fight breaks out between two bikers, you know? And I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but just to avoid all that, I don't support that.
Okay. I'm in support of their initial request, which is to use the west side of the highway. I'm fine with that. I do have some questions regarding the parking. And so the question would be, board, since there seems to be a large number of follow-up votes that the future boards of the township is going to have to make, my suggestion would be to amend or to change the draft that I prepared, take out the use of the parking lot at this time, but I would like to say that the board supports the trailway as they presented it. And
Well, one thing though,
Yeah.
before I can support anything, I need to talk to the people that live, and if that means me going door to door, if they support it, then I support it. I don't have, it's not going through my property, so I have nothing against it. But before I can support it, I gotta hear from those people.
so I can make a motion and we can debate the motion. And if it passes, then we'll move forward and you can do, because that input will be valuable for the next
Absolutely.
vote that we'll have to take. But at least this provides some comfort to the fact that the board recognizes that this is a good idea. We want to see more information on it. So I will make the motion that the Torch Lake Township Board supports the proposed Nakuima, it's close enough,
Did it?
trailway bike path as presented, with the board not committing any financial resources to the Tart Trail project at this time.
So where did you begin your amendment after the word presented?
Let's see.
Remove,
Presented, yes,
remove after that?
with the board not committing. I'll read it one more time. I will make the motion that the Torch Lake Township Board supports the proposed Nakuima Trailway Bike Path as presented, with the board not committing any financial resources to the Tart Trail project at this time.
Can I ask, does taking out the parking lot mess you guys up? Okay.
No,
Do I have a second?
Not committing any,
with the board not
Financial resources to the Tart, because I'm assuming
committing any
Tart
financial
is really the
resources to the Tart.
financing arm of this thing. Well, I'll leave it with the fiduciary then,
Board not
with the Tart Trail project at this time.
committing to the Tart Trail project.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. thank
Sharon.
you,
go ahead, Kathy.
Discussion on the motion? All
I think we
right.
already did that.
Kathy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
I will. Sharon?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jason?
No.
And myself, yes. So that motion passes 4-1 with Mr. Merchant casting the nay vote.
All right. That takes care of item number 6. We'll move on to item number 7.
Can I stop for just a second? Take a quick breather here. When do you come back again?
Whenever you want us to come back again.
Okay, I didn't know what
But
your.
I would say that our, going forward, the earliest we would do topographic survey would be once the snow is cleared, assuming we ever get snow. But that would be late late spring.
Okay.
And we would be happy if, whether or not it's written updates that we could submit or just come prior to launching that phase.
Well,
Okay, that's all
you just contact me and tell me what you want to do.
And I'll do my best to keep it to 10 or less.
Thank you.
All right. All right, board, at the last board meeting, it was brought to our attention that there's price pressure, wage pressure on our EMS squads in the county, probably in northern Michigan as a whole. Sharon and Mike did get together and they reviewed the landscape and evaluated what our current structure is. And this particular item is strictly wage and not benefit related. Benefits, we will handle the benefits piece of this when we do the budgets. And overall, cutting to the chase, for a quarter, it's going to cost us an extra $18,000. When budget time comes, we will be adding a total of $71,000 for the price increase, the wage increase that is proposed by Sharon and Mike. And so Sharon, I would ask you as a board member, you've been involved in this, if you'll give us the flavor of it.
I think Mike can do better at that.
Nah, you're the treasurer.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how you wanted me to present that. I mean, Mike came to you originally, talked about the competition of wage between amongst other units in the Antrim County and beyond. So he wanted to make sure that we all had our employees compensated well enough to make sure they stayed also. So I guess Mike came to us with TAA sheets and our sheets in comparison. So we did some comparison in that. There will be some benefit changes come time of that, but the wage itself, we try to simplify it enough to lump groups of people such as EMTs versus paramedics. So EMTs will be a wage, paramedics will be a wage, and this is based on service for Torch Lake Township. As much service as they've had in Torch Lake Township. So that's I don't know what the crux of, what do you want to add to it?
That's the bottom line. Mike, why don't you come up? I know you're dying to talk tonight.
No, I'm not. I just want to say, I hope you enjoy Santa came tonight.
He already
We
is.
appreciate the chocolate.
Yeah.
He's already
how's it going,
eating it.
Jason? That's there before you leave. We looked at the wage, Sharon and I did, and we talked about sometimes the confusion when you have a lot of different variables in there. And there's two major variables that Bob and I and Sharon talked about a little bit. The one has to do with years of experience. The other one has to do with how long have they been with you. Felt that years of experience really doesn't matter when you go up to a house. You just want a paramedic, and they better be good. Doesn't matter if they got 20 years underneath their belt or 2 days. So we kind of threw that out of the picture completely. And we just went with years of service to the township. You or we want to recognize them for staying with us. This is what the key is. As Bob was saying, as I presented to Bob and Sharon, it's an absolute revolution out there right now. Everybody is fighting for the mighty dollar to keep their paramedics. Paramedic shortage is huge. There are only so many paramedics in northern Michigan that we can draw from. So we have to maintain a competitive edge. People are, as I used the term last month, bunny hopping. They're going from this agency to this agency to this agency. And then when they raise the rates, they come back. We have not accepted the ones that left TAA to come back. We felt firm on that. But the point is still we need to be competitive with our wages. So Bob and I sat down, Sharon and I sat down, looked at the payroll process, the different incentives that we had, and we just got rid of them, as you can see in there, and decided to raise the wages so they stay. And I think that's going to help all of us out, and I don't think we're going to lose anybody.
Any questions from the board?
Did you put in years of service then in your thinking?
Yes.
In this number?
Yes, if you go, look, for example, Al, if you look at the EMT, it says 20 to 2250. So 20 is first year.
21, 25.
21 is the second year, and then 22 is the third year.
So third year is your highest wage at that point?
Right,
And then you can apply a percentage to those in our budget
exactly
every
after
year?
that,
Each one of those?
yes.
And 3 years with us, 1, 2, and
Yes.
3 years with us.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other plans for recruiting?
Well, you know, we're going to look at the benefit package during the budget time, but that's quite complicated, as we learned. Even the wages was somewhat complicated. So we're going to look at the benefit plan, and that always helps with recruitment. That really does. So we're going to look at the benefit plan. There are some things that we're going to look at, like PTO time, for example. We're going to probably get rid of a couple things in the benefit plan that we really don't need.
But
So
we'll talk about that later.
yeah, we'll discuss that. But that's what we're going to do for the future, benefit plans.
Alan, this is phase one
Yes.
of coordinating a total package for our EMS folks. And I think that, you know, we have to evaluate, are we putting our rates at the appropriate level now to at least be competitive in the marketplace, which is why I had Sharon and Michael look at this, and that's their proposal. When we come up to the ambulance budget, Michael will be presenting to us the overall total package. Because if you remember when I brought this up last month, I said that we had to look at everything, including the benefits, and how does that factor into how we calculate what the wage should be. And that's what they've done. And we'll look at that benefit package in January.
Now, we also pay for any kind of additional certification, education that they require. That is, we give them time to take those courses, or we pay for, I don't know how it's done.
Yes.
We take care of that.
We take care of that, yes.
Now, but Mike, you may not know the answer to this, but if I wanted to become a paramedic, what's it going to cost me from, I start tomorrow?
$12,000
$12,000 to become a
to
paramedic.
15.
And how long would that take me roughly?
Anywhere between a year to 2 years.
Okay, so I could spend $12,000, and a year from now, as a paramedic, I would be on your first step as a paramedic if you were to hire me.
Correct.
Okay. I keep thinking of a program that we once had, in which we encouraged people and helped them with the wages.
We
with
do
the
that.
tuition.
We encourage them to take further courses to educate themselves. We do pay for that. And, you know, it's difficult today to get people to further their careers in that area, and they look at the wages. So in order to get that, for example, an EMT to be a paramedic, they have to look at the wages. Is it worthwhile to do that? So we're hopefully going to fix that.
Any kind of idea of whether employees would prefer benefits over dollars? Would they be happier to get a benefit package and not worry about the price per hour going up, or do you think they want the dollars?
They
I
want
would
the
think
dollars.
That's what I would think too.
The millennials want the dollars.
So the benefit package, it's not critical. It would be a nice carrot.
No, but it would help with recruitment, but
Sure.
it's not critical.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what I would have thought too.
Other questions? All right, hearing none, I will make the motion to approve the
Another
revised.
thing,
Yep.
I'd like to thank Ted for all his help on this too, because he's been working with me on this. Thanks, Tom.
Hey, Ted.
I will make the motion to approve the revised ambulance wage structure effective with the first payroll in January 2024, based on years of service with Torch Lake Township Ambulance, as presented with the elimination of current incentives of 15 cents per year up to 10 years of service, and the $2.70 per diem and the $26 on-call wage rate with the following rates. The EMT employees from $20 to $22.50 range, paramedics from $24 to $27 range. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the revised ambulance wage structure effective with the first payroll in January 2024 based on years of service with Torch Lake Township Ambulance as presented, with the elimination of current incentives of 15 cents per year up to 10 years of service, and the $2.70 per diem and the $26 on-call wage rate, with the rates as follows. EMT employees from 20 to 22.50 range, paramedics from 24 to 27 range. Any questions on the motion?
We have the 5 paramedics. Do they mostly all fall within that highest range?
We've got,
No, wait.
we've got the list already,
You've got 4, it's in your package.
What's in my package?
right there, you're holding your hand. That red one.
Schedule.
Right hand.
Who'd we lose? Never
We
mind.
haven't lost any. We
Never
only
mind,
had
never mind,
4.
never mind.
Kevin, you good with this? You happy with this? Okay,
All right,
that's all I need to know.
so you need to know? Yep. Kathy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
I will. I am first. I'll go first. I'll say yes. Alan?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jason?
Absolutely.
Sharon?
Yes.
Positively.
I love your
And that-
enthusiasm.
I was gonna ask him if that was enough.
Oh,
That means,
well,
that
later.
means my payroll is going to be all revised.
Well, you know, a side benefit in their discussion, some of this helps Sharon with the payroll process. So there's some positives that.
It's
are
getting to
factored
that
in
point
there.
to revamp it, and then it'll be easier.
All right, board, that
Who did we
concludes
lose?
new business. Board discussion, I put in your package the budget I'll be reviewing during the course of mid to late January. The first item I have there, it's kind of a recap of our capital expenditures and where we stand on them. In the day park, we had roughly, about $8,500. In our plan, we spent $5,000 on the trees. In the capital expenditures, we had $2,000 to improve the handicap beach area. Feedback from to Jenny by people who would have utilized that find that our park didn't really need any incremental improvement in that area, so we didn't do anything. Fencing, we had in at $10,000, it came in at $8,000. We put in the boat ramp rework at $45,000, it came in at $25,000. We did not do anything in the kayak launch work for $5,000, and there will be some recommendations coming from the day park, which will come in January during the board or during the budgets that would like to address whether or not we want to continue to allow the kayaks. The expense of repair of the boat launch would have helped us minimize the risk associated with people using the boat ramp as a kayak launch. We would have put a surface on it that would have minimized the slippage. My greatest fear right now at the day park is slippage by people launching a kayak or a paddleboard on that ramp. It's just slippery. So I think there may be, I've pushed them to try to figure out a way to minimize the liability, the potential liability of the township. So they'll present something when they present their budget. The fire truck, We started out with a core cost of $438,000. We improved a deck gun in the rear axles. It was $9,000. We extended with the automatic nozzle gun on the front so that they can address any wildfires or fires on plain areas. That was $17,900. And then they came to us with an increase for inflation, which kind of went against the fact that they promised a fixed rate contract, except for changes. I asked them, why would they do that? They said because their costs went up dramatically, and if we don't want to pay it, they're willing to sell our fire truck instantly. So I said, fine. So that was $10,900.
If I sell it or if I buy it?
No, if we said no, we're not going to pay the 10,
Right?
they're going to keep it, and they had buyers lined up to take it. So
Gotcha.
it's one of those things that it's a new world out there for contracts. So anyway, the total current price right now, the last invoice is $476,000. I haven't heard from them as to the down payment that we have to make. It's $125,000 when the frame is delivered to them. So at least at this point, the frame hasn't been delivered. ARPA money, we got $124,000. The allocation from the December through March tax collections will be roughly $248,000. The balance from the fire fund would be $103,000, and that would leave us with a balance in the fire fund of $412,500. That would then take care of the obligation that we have to the general fund. The ambulance, the current fund balance is $214,000. The ambulance costs $311,000. The fund submitted or committed $146,000 to pay towards that. The remaining amount, $165,000, came from the general fund. The December through March tax allocation to the capital account is $149,110, and I would propose that we take the remaining $16,000 from the ambulance fund and pay off the balance to the general fund. That would leave a remaining balance in the ambulance fund of $198,000. Any questions on all those numbers? The idea is that we committed ourselves to a couple major purchases. We've got a plan to get us even with the general fund for the support it gave those purchases, and then we'll move forward with the next one. When's our next fire pumper? Is that 2028? I'll have to go back and look at the capital plan. Yeah, so we're going to have another pumper losing the insurance life. And again, this is why the board took the action we did, which was to raise the millage and then allocate it to the capital side of our business. Because if we're going to have EMS, we're going to have fire trucks and volunteer fire department, we've got to build those reserves to make sure we have money to pay for the equipment.
I have a question. We're talking about the fire truck chassis or whatever you said. Our ARPA, we have to do our reporting before long, so we've got to have that money expended in order to keep it going. So sooner we know, the better, that I can get that reports done.
Yep. And that takes, the down payment that they wanted for the chassis takes care of that.
Chassis, yeah, whatever, yeah.
Yep.
But
All
I need,
right,
but
so-
it's not going to be out another year from now or anything like that, I'm hoping.
We don't know.
That report's got to be done in 2024.
Well, we can always advance pay it if we have to.
Okay,
They're not going to turn the money down.
okay.
The big package, 16 pages, I think. Yeah, 16 pages. I want you to focus on the general fund and the right-hand column which are the comments. So you can go through Those are going to be the bigger dollar amounts that we need to address. I've asked Sarah to work on her 3 areas, the ZBA, with Laura Anderson, with Andy on the Planning Commission, and then her account zoning. And then the Park Committee is doing their park stuff. Kevin and Mike are supposed to get me their budget recommendations. That's later in January. And, but yeah, our first meeting in January, which is the information only item, which is the timing of the meetings. The first meeting is on pay rates. And then we get into the budget stuff and wrap it up with a final meeting at the end of January. And then I can prepare for the budget and annual meeting for the citizens of the township. So with that, I would ask for a board comment. I'm sorry, citizen comment first. Hearing none, board comment. Sharon, I'll start with you.
Okay, I have, for the first time in ever that I have had problems with getting the tax bills to the hands of our taxpayers. A lot of them are gone, and so the forwarding mail through the system of the postal department has all changed. So a lot of our residents are not getting their tax bills, even though they applied for forwarding. It's a whole new process they have to do on their computers and phones and stuff, but they've never done before. I am getting countless phone calls from people that have not received their bills. So I would like at the minutes that anyone that has not received their tax bill to be sure to contact the township treasurer, especially those forwarded bills. And I did contact the Kuwaitan post office and filed a complaint. It did me no good. So, yeah, I've never had this problem before.
Put it out in constant contact. Send it to Linda.
Okay, I
or
should do
Jenny
that. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
think
I would
about
even
that.
send a letter, a note to anybody, like anyone who's getting
I
their
don't want to
mail
send it now.
forwarded.
I'm duplicating bills, countless duplicating of bills. This is like
Well,
a lot of them.
It's gotta be.
And the mail that's being returned back to me is enormous. I spent countless hours of trying to search for people to get these bills to them. So I'm having a lot of trouble this year, which I've never had before. It's one thing to have an address change, but this one is a gigantic. So I just want it in the board minutes to know that if you contacted or heard of anyone not getting their tax bill, it doesn't relieve you of paying your taxes. Just contact me to get the bill.
Very good. Kathy?
I have nothing except happy holidays to everybody. Are we all ready?
No.
Ellen?
Something that I had thought of earlier in the month, I would recommend that you make some kind of a historical record of what happened with regard to the expansion of Barnes Park and the county. So that 10 years from now, when we face that issue, we can say how it was resolved. We would know the number of spaces that were allowed at this point, and so that does not get confused again.
Yep.
Almost a 2-page narrative would do it and put it in the file.
Excellent point. I will do that. I'll work with Sarah to do that. Jason?
Sharon, if my taxes are late, it's because I didn't get it in the mail. I'm a little surprised that everybody's okay with the TART trail, but it is what it is, and Merry Christmas.
Well, the good thing on the TART trail, they've got to come back to the well a number of times.
There's a lot to look at, Jason, on that
Yeah.
thing.
There's a lot there. So I just wish all of you a very Merry Christmas.
I do as
and
well.
The township, and I have a little handout.
Straight from Utah?
Straight from Utah.
Thank you.
3 lift tickets next week.
Thank you. Don't trip. Don't trip.
With that,
Thank you.
I make the motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's
can't-
adjourned.
8:54.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I mean, we're
8:55.
closed,
Wait,
but I don't know if they told you, but the planning commission's meetings are gonna be now Mondays.
right,
Okay.
that's been published. 4th.